Curious what's happening here in Iowa? Wondering what's going on in the rest of the world? Feed your curiosity with IPR, where every day you can expect to hear something unexpected. Iowa Public Radio. News, music, and culture for the curious.
This is Garden Variety, a horticulture podcast from Iowa Public Radio and Iowa State University Extension and Outreach. I'm Charity Nebbe. Spring is officially here, and if you've been waiting to get your hands dirty, your wait is over, or at least nearly over. It is time to plant your leafy greens. Ajay Nair is professor and chair of horticulture at Iowa State University, and he's here to help us get our lettuce and spinach going. Hello, Ajay.
Good morning, Charity.
It is wonderful to have you on the show. And I realize that probably a lot of gardeners in Iowa have already planted some of their leafy greens. If they have a cold frame or if they cover their rows, there's an opportunity to get these things started a little early, isn't there?
Yeah, that's true. And many of our listeners and gardeners might have used some kind of a row cover material just to protect those plants when the temperatures fall rapidly. But in general, yes, these are cool season vegetables and perfectly adapted to Iowa growing conditions. And yes, one of the first crops that go out in the open.
And when do you typically plant?
So in the case of spinach, we typically suggest somewhere first week of April or last week of March. With the spinach, these are cool season vegetables. They are small seeded. Their growing cycle is very small. You're talking anywhere between 60 to 70 days. And they can take some of those cooler temperatures, especially spinach. It's a very hardy leafy green. And if you look at the leafy green, it's one of the most common vegetable that is consumed raw, but in many of the ingredients in salads, and it grows easily harvestable. And there are many ways you can plant, and we can discuss that more. But early in the spring, you can direct seed them, you can transplant them depending on the types of spinach. So very exciting family.
All right, well, let's talk lettuce first. There are many different types of lettuce. Does that matter when we think about when we plant?
So yes and no. But depending, I think I'm glad you brought the topic of the types of lettuce because, earlier, I would say maybe 15, 20 years back, all we would know here is the iceberg lettuce.
Yeah.
And that is primarily grown in California. But now in the last 10, 15 years, this local food movement has really opened up the diaspora for these leafy greens, especially lettuce. So the most common type of lettuce is the leaf lettuce. Grows really well here in our backyard, in our acreage. There are many standardized and very popular cultivars like the black-seeded Simpson or the green salad bowl or the red salad bowl. But in addition to the leaf lettuce, there are few other types that have gained more popularity and also interest. So one of them is the butterhead type lettuce. These are smaller in size. They are very flavorful and buttery texture when you consume them. So have become really popular among consumers. There are different types, different cultivars of butterhead lettuce that are perfectly adaptable to Iowa growing conditions.
And as you pick up from the name, it does grow in a head, right?
Yes, it grows as a head. And to answer your question, which you asked, how you seed them, so the butterhead lettuce is typically transplanted because it's grown as a head, whereas the leaf lettuce will be direct seeded. In the butterhead type, again, many different colors, many different shapes, colors primarily red and green. And then I would say another lettuce type that has roared back here or up in many of the menus in restaurants and even our household is the romaine lettuce. This lettuce grows more upright, and as the plant grows, it has a tendency of keeping the leaves as a bunch. This type of lettuce is the one that when you go to restaurant, when you want to replace your wrap, a tortilla wrap, with something different, and that's when they use the romaine, the head of that lettuce. So romaines have become popular. And then finally, one more which I would like to add, which is slowly gaining traction, and that's primarily because of the changing weather and climate. And so we know that it's getting hotter, it's getting warmer, and people still want to consume and eat lettuce during summer. And so there are some summer crisp or the Batavian type lettuces that are getting more popular. And the advantage of those Batavia type or the summer crisp type is that they're a bit more heat tolerant. So they can adjust to some of the warmer conditions here in Iowa.
All right, and then let's talk about those conditions. But first, because you said the loose leaf lettuce can be direct sow, if you haven't started your butterhead lettuce or your romaine lettuce that might be transplanted, is it too late?
No, it is not too late. Lettuce transplant takes about 3 to 4 weeks from seed to become a good quality transplant. So if somebody starts, let's say this week, there's still window to plant them end of April. That's fine. I would try to find cultivars that are a bit more heat tolerant. Although if you transplant end of April, by middle of June, end of June, you would be able to harvest it. So no, it's not late. Please go ahead and seed and get those transplants ready.
And of course, I like to eat a lot of salad. I like to eat salad consistently. Do you need to be transplanting at different times so that you have a harvest ready when you want it?
We are seeing more of that trend here in Iowa, especially with lettuce being kind of a staple in the farmers' market. Whenever you go, even in June, if you go in July, you might still see lettuce in there. And thanks to these heat-tolerant cultivars. So yes, if we are planting to consume it on a regular basis, succession planting is possible. As I said, the Batavian types are more of the heat-tolerant. There are cultivars in there. One of them, which we did a cultivar trial here at Iowa State, a cultivar called Muir, Muir. It's a good heat-tolerant cultivar. Some of the other heat-tolerant cultivars, Cherokee is another one, Magenta is another one. So there are some, and Lovelock. Those are some good heat-tolerant cultivars for our growing conditions.
Are we finding that for the true cool season crops, for the more traditional lettuces that we grow, that cool season is getting shorter?
It's variable. The weather is so variable. But yes, things are getting warmer a bit quickly. Soil moisture is very variable. Some years are wet, some springs are dry. But the cool season, typically, we are looking at end of March to, all the way middle of April, end of April for that planting time. And we still get those opportunities. It just you have to be ready, especially if you're growing from transplants. And not just for leafy greens, this applies to some of our cole crops or the brassica crops, let's say for broccoli or cauliflower that need to be started from transplant. We usually shoot for the middle of April for them to be transplanted, which means the transplant production has to start somewhere in March so that we hit that target.
And then once it warms up, will the seeds for these cool season crops, will they just not germinate?
There is a slight issue when it comes to lettuce, is that the temperature affects germination rate. So that the threshold is usually 77 to 78 degree Fahrenheit. If the soil temperature is at that, or when the ambient air is at that temperature, not the soil, the ambient air, the germination slows down. It doesn't mean that it won't germinate, but it will take more time to germinate, and you lose time that way. So in the case of lettuce, that's why planning and planting early. If you can start from transplants, especially for the head types, that's great because you take care of the germination issue there. And also if you are broadcasting or direct seeding, lettuce also, some of the cultivars need to have light, a little bit of light, because of this pigment called phytochrome that activates. So do not plant lettuce too deep in the soil. We suggest anywhere maybe quarter inch. And so once you put seed in the soil, just sprinkle put the seed in the soil, just sprinkle a little bit of soil on top of it. Don't compact it too much because that can also impede germination.
We haven't talked about spinach very much at all. What kinds of cultivars do you like to plant for spinach?
So in the case of spinach, these are more cold, hardy. It's a more cold, hardy leafy green. They overwinter here in Iowa, especially I know many of the commercial growers would put them in high tunnels and put row covers on top of them in the winter. And come March, April, they start growing back. so very hardy. So when it comes to spinach, there are primarily two types, the Savoy or the semi-Savoy type, which have those wrinkly leaves, and then more of the straight types. When it comes to cultivars that are adaptable, and we have tested them here, that grows well, Olympia is a good one. It's a semi-Savoy type. It's more for the hot season. The other one I would recommend is Aztec. It's very popular. It's adaptable to both a little bit of warmer and cooler conditions. And then there's one called Space. There's another one called Gazella, Gazella. We have a publication available on ISU Extension and Outreach where we tried 9 different cultivars of spinach. So listeners are welcome to take a look at them. It has yield and quality and the shape of the leaves and the size of the leaf. So a lot of variety out there to plant.
Absolutely. Are there insect pests that we need to think about?
Yes, and we we learned it the hard way, especially when you have an outbreak of aphids. So in the leafy greens, I would say 2 primary pests that we fight with. Aphids is one of them. Then some of the caterpillar pests are the others. With the aphids, often if it's a small patch, during watering, you can dislodge them. That's a good way to do that. You can always use more sustainable ways of managing those pests, like horticultural oils or neem could be used. When it comes to caterpillar pests, we primarily use BT, which is the Bacillus thuringiensis. There are many trade names, Dipel, Javelin, that are available. So we highly recommend them, and they work really well. Sometime, again, this is more in the fall, you might have grasshoppers or even slugs that are on the leafy greens. And grasshoppers is very, very challenging to manage them. We sometimes use like a row cover or a protect netting as a mechanical barrier against those pests. So I would say those the aphids and the caterpillars are the primary ones.
And of course, that's a great reminder that with cool season crops, you get another go at the end of the season as well. And maybe we'll talk about them again in a few months. We've been talking about leafy greens like lettuce and spinach. It is time to plant. Ajay Nair is professor and chair of horticulture at Iowa State University. For more gardening information and tips, you can subscribe to our Garden Variety newsletter. Find out more at iowapublicradio.org/garden. I'm Charity Nebbe. Garden Variety is a production of Iowa Public Radio and Iowa State University Extension. It's produced by me, Erin Stile, Caitlin Troutman, and the Iowa Public Radio talk show team. For more garden goodness, please subscribe to our Garden Variety newsletter. Just go to iowapublicradio.org/garden. I'm Charity Nebbe. See you next time.